peaceful wanderer to another gentle journey with the sleeping wanderer. Tonight we're traveling together to the magnificent city of Vienna, where imperial palaces stand like dreams carved in stone, and where time moves slowly through gilded halls and peaceful gardens. There's no rush, no agenda, just a peaceful exploration of Austria's most beautiful palaces that will carry you gently toward rest. Before we begin our restful adventure together, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, but only if you truly enjoy these sleepy travels. And drop a comment below telling me which magical destination you want us to visit next. Now, take a deep breath with me and let your shoulders relax. Tonight, you're safe, comfortable, and ready for a peaceful journey through Vienna's imperial past. The city of music and dreams awaits you. Wrapped in the soft glow of evening light, Vienna spreads before you like a gentle painting. Its Baroque and Rococo palaces, rising from tree-lined boulevards. The air carries the faint scent of coffee and fresh pastries from distant cafes, mixing with the sweet fragrance of linden trees that line the imperial gardens. This is a city where emperors and empresses once walked, where Mozart played his compositions in candlelit salons, and where every stone holds centuries of peaceful stories. As we begin our journey, imagine yourself standing on the Ringstrasse, Vienna's grand boulevard that encircles the old city like a protective embrace. The evening light is golden and soft, painting the palace facades in warm honey tones. Street lamps are just beginning to glow, their light gentle and welcoming. The sound of horse-drawn carriages clip-clops peacefully in the distance, a rhythm that has remained unchanged for centuries. You're dressed comfortably for our evening stroll, perhaps in soft fabrics that move gently with each step. The temperature is perfect, neither too warm nor too cool, just that ideal moment when the air feels like silk against your skin. Your footsteps are quiet on the smooth pavements, and there's no hurry in your pace. You have all the time in the world to explore these peaceful palaces. The city seems to breathe slowly around you. Windows in the grand buildings glow with warm amber light, and you can imagine the quiet conversations happening behind those elegant curtains. Somewhere, perhaps, a piano plays softly, a Chopin nocturne or a gentle Mozart sonata drifting through an open window. The music mingles with the evening air, becoming part of Vienna's eternal lullaby. As we prepare to visit the imperial palaces, let your mind become like a calm lake, ready to receive these beautiful reflections. Each palace we'll explore tonight has its own gentle rhythm, its own peaceful story to tell. We'll walk through gardens where empress once strolled in contemplation, through rooms where history unfolded as quietly as turning pages in a book. The Habsburg dynasty, who ruled from these palaces for over 6 centuries, created spaces not just for power, but for beauty, contemplation, and rest. Their legacy lives on in these peaceful halls, in the carefully tended gardens, in the art and music that still fills these spaces with gentle grace. Tonight, you don't need to remember every detail. You don't need to stay awake for the entire journey. Let the stories and descriptions wash over you like gentle waves. When sleep calls to you, answer it peacefully. The palaces will still be here, eternal and patient, whenever you wish to return. Our journey begins at Schönbrunn Palace, the summer residence of the Habsburgs, glowing softly in the evening light. As you approach through the grand gates, the palace reveals itself slowly, like a beautiful secret being whispered. The facade stretches peacefully before you, painted in that distinctive Maria Theresa yellow, a warm, creamy shade that seems to hold the last rays of sunlight even as dusk approaches. The gravel beneath your feet crunches softly with each step, a gentle percussion that accompanies your approach. The palace seems to grow larger and more magnificent as you draw near, yet never overwhelming. It welcomes you with the quiet dignity of a place that has witnessed centuries pass by, like gentle seasons. The main courtyard opens before you, vast and peaceful. The geometric patterns of the carefully raked gravel create soothing lines that guide your eyes naturally toward the palace entrance. Fountains murmur softly in the distance, their water catching the fading light like liquid crystal. The sound is constant and calming, like the palace's own heartbeat. You pause for a moment, taking in the symmetry of the windows, row upon row of them, each one perfectly placed, creating a rhythm that's almost musical. Behind some of those windows, Maria Theresa once stood, gazing out at these same grounds. Behind others, the young Mozart performed for the Imperial family, his small fingers dancing across the keys of a harpsichord. The air here carries a particular quality, clean and fresh, with hints of the vast gardens that stretch behind the palace. You can smell roses from distant flower beds, their fragrance carried on the gentlest of breezes. The linden trees that frame the courtyard add their own sweet perfume, a scent that has graced these grounds for hundreds of years. As you move closer to the palace entrance, you notice the small details that make Schönbrunn so special. The decorative elements above each window, carved cherubs and floral motifs that seem to smile down at you. The soft yellow walls are punctuated by white architectural details, creating a visual rhythm that's soothing to follow. The palace guards stand peacefully at their posts, their presence reassuring rather than imposing. They nod gently as you pass, understanding that you're here for a peaceful evening exploration. Their uniforms, deep blue with gold trim, add touches of color to the serene scene. Through the main entrance, the palace interior beckons with warm light. But before we enter, let's pause here in the courtyard, feeling the peaceful transition from day to evening. The sky above is painting itself in the softest shades, pale pink, lavender, the gentlest orange. These colors reflect off the palace windows, making them glow like peaceful flames. You can hear the city beyond the palace walls, but it's muted, distant, like a lullaby being hummed in another room. Here in the palace grounds, you're in a bubble of tranquility, separated from the modern world by centuries of history and carefully maintained peace. The temperature is dropping slightly as evening approaches, but it's a pleasant coolness that makes you feel more awake to the beauty around you, yet paradoxically, more ready for eventual rest. Your breathing naturally slows to match the peaceful rhythm of this place. Small birds, perhaps sparrows or finches, flutter peacefully among the eaves of the palace, settling in for their evening rest. Their soft chirping adds another layer to the gentle symphony of sounds. Soon they too will sleep, tucked safely in the architectural embraces of the palace. As we prepare to enter Schönbrunn, take one more deep breath of this evening air. Feel how your body naturally relaxes in this peaceful setting. The palace seems to promise that inside, the tranquility only deepens. The beauty only becomes more intimate and soothing. The great doors stand open, inviting you into a world where time moves differently, where every room holds stories that unfold as gently as silk scarves in a soft breeze. Step forward now, crossing the threshold into the peaceful heart of Imperial Vienna. Inside Schönbrunn Palace, the air is different, stiller, holding centuries of quiet conversations and gentle footsteps. The entrance hall surrounds you with its soft grandeur, painted in pale, calming colors that seem to glow with their own inner light. As we begin to explore, let me share with you the peaceful story of how these palaces came to be. The Habsburg dynasty ruled these lands for over 600 years, from 1273 to 1918. But there's no need to remember dates. Instead, imagine time as a gentle river flowing through these halls, depositing layers of history like silk upon silk. Each emperor and empress added their own quiet touch to these palaces, their own vision of beauty and peace. The story of Schönbrunn begins even earlier, with a natural spring, the Schöner Brunnen, or Beautiful Spring, discovered here in 1619. Emperor Matthias was hunting peacefully in these woods when he found the crystal clear water. He drank from it and declared it the most refreshing water he had ever tasted. That spring still flows somewhere beneath these grounds, a hidden heartbeat of pure water. As you walk through the first reception room, notice how the light from the crystal chandeliers creates soft patterns on the ceiling. These same patterns have been dancing here for centuries, watched by countless peaceful eyes. The walls are covered in silk damask, its texture so fine that it seems to breathe with you. Maria Theresa, the only female ruler of the Habsburg dominions, made Schönbrunn her beloved summer home in the 1740s. She didn't conquer with armies, but with art, music, and the creation of beautiful, peaceful spaces. She had 16 children, and you can almost hear their gentle laughter echoing faintly through these rooms, like a memory preserved in the very walls. The floors beneath your feet are made of different woods, arranged in intricate patterns that draw your eyes in peaceful circles and gentle geometries. Each piece was placed by hand, by craftsmen who worked slowly, methodically, creating beauty that would last for centuries. Your soft footsteps on these floors join a continuous rhythm that has been playing here for hundreds of years. In the next room, portraits of the Habsburg family gaze down with serene expressions. Their eyes seem kind, understanding, as if they know you're here simply to appreciate the peace they created. Emperor Franz Joseph, who ruled for 68 years, looks particularly gentle in his portrait, his long white whiskers giving him the appearance of a kindly grandfather. The Habsburgs were great patrons of music, and these halls have heard some of the most beautiful sounds ever created. Mozart played here as a 6-year-old child, amazing the imperial court, not with loud, dramatic pieces, but with delicate compositions that seemed to float through the air like butterflies. Beethoven, Schubert, Johann Strauss, they all performed in these peaceful halls, their music becoming part of the palace's eternal atmosphere. As we move deeper into the palace, notice how each room flows gently into the next. There are no harsh transitions, no jarring changes. The architects understood that beauty should unfold gradually, like a flower opening in slow motion. The color schemes shift subtly, from pale gold to soft green, from gentle blue to warm cream. Each change so gradual, you barely notice it happening. The ceilings above are masterpieces of peaceful art. Frescoes depicting mythological scenes float overhead, but they're painted in such soft colors, with such gentle movements, that they feel more like dreams than stories. Cherubs drift among clouds that look soft enough to sleep on. Gods and goddesses recline in eternal rest. Through the tall windows, you can see the gardens beginning to fade into the evening darkness. But inside, the palace glows with its own warm light. This was intentional. The Habsburgs wanted their palaces to be refuges from the outside world, places where beauty and peace reigned supreme. In the Chinese cabinets, the influence of the Far East brings an even deeper sense of tranquility. Lacquered panels show peaceful scenes of distant mountains shrouded in mist, of scholars reading beneath flowering trees, of birds resting on delicate branches. These rooms were Maria Theresa's private spaces, where she could retreat from the demands of ruling an empire. The porcelain collected here tells its own quiet story. Each piece was carefully chosen, carefully placed. The blue and white patterns seemed to flow like gentle water, creating a visual rhythm that naturally slows your breathing. Some of these pieces traveled thousands of miles along the Silk Road, carrying with them the peace of distant lands. As we complete our circuit of these historical rooms, feel how the weight of history here isn't heavy or oppressive. Instead, it's like a soft blanket, woven from centuries of peaceful moments. Every emperor and empress who lived here, every artist who created beauty here, every musician who played here, they all contributed threads to this blanket of tranquility. Let us now explore the architectural wonders of Vienna's palaces with the slow appreciation they deserve. Each archway, each column, each decorated ceiling was designed not just to impress, but to create spaces where the soul could rest. The Great Gallery at Schönbrunn stretches before you like a golden dream, 40 meters long, 10 meters wide, and 10 meters high. But numbers cannot capture the feeling of standing in this space. The ceiling fresco by Gregorio Guglielmi seems to float above you, depicting the prosperity of the Habsburg monarchy, but in such soft, peaceful tones that it feels more like a lullaby painted in light. The mirrors lining the walls multiply the space infinitely, creating the illusion that you're standing in an endless hall of light and beauty. When the palace hosted balls, thousands of candles would be lit. Their flames reflected countless times until the room seemed filled with stars. Now, in the quiet evening, the electric lights have been dimmed to recreate that gentle glow. Notice how your footsteps echo softly in this vast space. The acoustics were carefully designed so that even whispers could be heard, but harsh sounds would be absorbed. The room itself seems to encourage gentle conversation, peaceful movement. The parquet floor beneath your feet is a masterpiece of woodworking with patterns that spiral gently outward from the center of the room. As we move to the Hall of Ceremonies, observe how the architecture changes subtly. The ceiling here is lower, more intimate, painted with scenes of heavenly peace. The columns are not stark and imposing, but wrapped in gilt decorations that spiral gently upward, like golden vines reaching toward the light. The windows in these palaces deserve special attention. They're not just openings for light, but carefully designed frames for the views beyond. Each window is tall enough to let in maximum light, but proportioned to create a sense of harmony. The glass itself is old, with slight imperfections that make the light dance and shimmer as it enters. Now we arrive at the blue staircase. Though in this evening light, it appears more like the softest gray blue, the color of a peaceful dawn sky. The stairs rise gently, each step shallow enough that ascending feels effortless. The banister curves beneath your hand, worn smooth by centuries of gentle touches. As you climb, you feel as though you're ascending not just through space, but through layers of peaceful dreams. The Millions Room awaits at the top of another staircase, and here the architecture becomes even more intricate. The walls are covered with precious rosewood panels from the Indies, into which are set 60 miniature paintings. But you don't need to examine each one. Instead, let your eyes rest softly on the overall effect, a warm, encompassing embrace of artistic beauty. Throughout the palace, notice how the doorways are designed. Each one frames the room beyond like a picture, giving you a gentle preview of what's to come. The doors themselves are works of art, with panels that tell quiet stories in carved wood and applied gold leaf. The handles are shaped to fit perfectly in your hand, cool to the touch. Substantial but not heavy. In the Hofburg Palace, which we'll visit in spirit now, the architecture takes on a different character. Here, the Spanish riding school presents a vast open space where the famous Lipizzaner horses perform their gentle ballet. The hall is painted pure white, with windows high above that fill the space with the softest natural light. Even empty, as it is now in our evening visit, you can almost hear the quiet breathing of the horses, the soft shuffle of their hooves on the sand. The Winter Riding School's architecture is even more remarkable. The ceiling is supported by 46 columns, but they don't feel oppressive. Instead, they create a forest of marble through which light filters like sunshine through trees. The space between the columns creates natural pathways, guiding you gently through the space. Back in the residential areas of the palaces, notice how the private apartments are designed on a more human scale. The ceilings are lower, the rooms smaller, creating spaces that embrace rather than overwhelm. Emperor Franz Joseph's study is particularly touching. A simple room with dark wood paneling, where he worked at the same desk for decades, rising each morning at 4 a.m. to serve his empire in quiet dedication. The palace chapels represent another form of architectural poetry. The Hofburg Chapel, where the Vienna Boys Choir still sings on Sundays, has acoustics so perfect that even a whispered prayer seems to float upward toward heaven. The decoration here is restrained, peaceful, soft blues and golds that create an atmosphere of celestial calm. As we contemplate these architectural marvels, remember that every arch, every column, every decorated surface was created by human hands. Craftsmen spent their entire lives perfecting single skills, carving, gilding, painting, passing their knowledge peacefully from master to apprentice. Their dedication lives on in every peaceful detail. The architecture of Vienna's palaces teaches us that grandeur doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be gentle, embracing, designed to lift the spirit while calming the mind. These spaces were created for human beings to live, love, and rest in beauty. Vienna's palaces are not just architectural marvels, but living repositories of culture, where music especially has woven itself into the very fabric of the walls. As we continue our peaceful journey, let the cultural richness of these spaces wash over you like a gentle symphony. In the white and gold room of Schönbrunn, where Mozart performed as a child prodigy, the atmosphere still holds traces of those magical evenings. The 6-year-old Wolfgang amazed Empress Maria Theresa, not with virtuosic displays, but with the pure crystalline beauty of his playing. Legend says that after his performance, he jumped into the Empress's lap and kissed her, charming her with his innocent enthusiasm. The room seems designed for music, with its perfect proportions creating natural acoustics that carry every note clearly but softly. The white walls with gold accents don't absorb sound, but reflect it gently, creating a warm resonance. Even now in the quiet evening, you can almost hear phantom melodies drifting through the space. Austrian culture has always valued the gentle arts, music, painting, poetry, over martial pursuits. The Habsburgs collected not territories but talents, drawing artists from across Europe to create beauty in these palaces. Each room we pass through contains layers of cultural expression, painted, carved, woven into existence. The palace libraries hold special magic. The Hofburg Library, with its 200,000 ancient volumes, creates a cathedral of knowledge. The books themselves seem to breathe quietly, their leather bindings releasing the faintest scent of vanilla and must. The knowledge they contain isn't urgent or demanding, but patient, waiting peacefully for seekers to discover it. In the staterooms, notice the Gobelin tapestries on the walls. These were woven in France and Belgium, taking years to complete. Each thread was placed with meditation-like focus, creating images so detailed they seem painted rather than woven. The subjects are pastoral and peaceful, shepherds resting under trees, noble ladies reading in gardens, musicians playing gentle serenades. The tradition of the Viennese coffee house began in these palaces. After defeating the Turkish siege in 1683, the Viennese discovered coffee among the abandoned supplies. They softened its bitterness with milk and sugar, creating the café mélange that's still served today. In the palace kitchens, which we can imagine below us, coffee was prepared as carefully as any ceremonial dish, its aroma drifting through the halls each morning. The Spanish riding school represents another unique cultural tradition. The Lipizzaner horses are trained not for speed or war, but for beauty and grace. Their movements, the levade, the courbette, the capriole, are like classical music translated into motion. The riders and horses work together in perfect harmony, neither forcing nor resisting, but moving as one peaceful entity. Throughout the palaces, music remains the dominant cultural force. Beethoven walked these halls despite his deafness, feeling the vibrations of his compositions through the floors. Schubert, shy and gentle, played his lyre in intimate gatherings, his melodies as natural as breathing. Johann Strauss conducted waltzes that made the whole palace seem to sway in three-quarter time. The court ceremonies that took place here were elaborate, but never harsh. They were choreographed like ballets, with everyone knowing their role, moving through the patterns with practiced grace. The famous Viennese ball season, which still continues today, began in these very rooms. Imagine hundreds of couples turning in perfect synchronization, their gowns and tailcoats creating patterns, like flowers opening and closing. The art collected in these palaces tells stories of cultural exchange. Paintings from Italy hang beside Dutch masterworks. Chinese porcelain sits next to Bohemian crystal. Each piece was chosen not for its value, but for its beauty, its ability to add to the peaceful atmosphere. The palace theaters are jewels of cultural expression. The Schönbrunn Palace Theater, still used for performances, is intimate and perfect. The seats are upholstered in soft velvet, the walls decorated with gentle frescoes. The stage is small enough that every gesture, every expression can be seen clearly. Here, opera was not about grand effects, but about the human voice, pure and unadorned. Food culture in the palaces was elevated to an art form. The famous sachertorte was created in these kitchens, its rich chocolate balanced perfectly with apricot jam. Apple strudel, with pastry so thin you could read through it, was stretched by hand in the palace kitchens. Every meal was a peaceful ceremony, with courses flowing one into another like movements in a symphony. The gardens reflect Austria's horticultural culture. Every plant was chosen for its beauty and its symbolism. The rose gardens contain varieties developed specifically for the Habsburgs, their scents unique to these grounds. The orange trees in the orangery are centuries old, still producing fruit that tastes of sunshine and history. As we absorb this cultural richness, remember that it was created over centuries, layer by layer, like a pearl forming around a grain of sand. Each emperor and empress added their own preferences, their own vision, but always with respect for what came before. The result is not a single cultural statement, but a harmonious chorus of different voices, all singing together in peaceful accord. Let us step now into the gardens of Schönbrunn as evening deepens around us. The formal gardens stretch out like a geometric dream, their patterns visible even in the fading light. The gravel paths crunch softly beneath your feet, a sound that seems to mark time in the most gentle way possible. The great parterre spreads before you, its flower beds arranged in swirling patterns that please the eye without demanding attention. In daylight, these beds blaze with color, reds, yellows, purples. But now, in the twilight, they've become subtle variations of shadow and deeper shadow, like a painting done in the softest graphite. The scent of the gardens in evening is different from their daytime perfume. The flowers release their fragrance more generously as the air cools, creating layers of scent that drift past you in gentle waves. Rose mingles with lavender, jasmine with evening primrose. Each breath brings a new combination, never overwhelming, always perfectly balanced. The Neptune fountain stands at the far end of the parterre, its figures now silhouettes against the darkening sky. The water still flows, but more quietly than during the day, as if the fountain itself is preparing for sleep. The sound it makes is continuous and soothing, like the earth's own lullaby. As we walk along the side paths, tall hedges rise on either side, creating green walls that muffle the sounds of the city beyond. These hedges have been carefully trimmed for centuries, their shapes as precise as architecture. They create intimate corridors where you can walk in perfect privacy, accompanied only by your own peaceful thoughts. The gloriette, that beautiful structure crowning the hill behind the palace, glows faintly in the last light. It was built to commemorate a battle, but there's nothing martial about it now. It's purely decorative, a folly meant only to please the eye and lift the spirit. The climb to reach it is gentle, with wide steps that allow you to maintain a peaceful pace. From the gloriette, if we were to climb there, you could see all of Vienna spread out in the evening light. But we're content to admire it from here, letting it remain a distant dream on the hilltop. Sometimes the most beautiful things are those we observe from afar, leaving them wrapped in mystery. The Palm House, one of the largest of its kind in Europe, glows softly with interior lighting. Inside, tropical plants from around the world grow in perpetual summer. The humidity would fog your glasses if you entered, and the air would be thick with the scent of exotic blooms. But from outside, it looks like a giant lantern, warming the garden with its gentle glow. Hidden throughout the gardens are small surprises. A statue half hidden by ivy, a bench placed perfectly to catch the evening sun, a small fountain that tinkles like silver bells. These discoveries are meant to be stumbled upon accidentally, rewards for those who wander peacefully without destination. The Roman ruins, a folly built in 1778, stand mysteriously in their own grove of trees. They were never real ruins, but built to look ancient, to give the garden a sense of deep history. In this light, they're entirely convincing, seeming to hold centuries of stories in their artificial stones. The garden's wildlife is settling for the night. Blackbirds sing their evening songs from the treetops, their melodies complex but soothing. Bats begin to emerge, their flight patterns creating invisible calligraphy against the darkening sky. They're not frightening but fascinating, part of the garden's natural rhythm. The maze, if we were to enter it, would be especially mysterious now. The hedges would tower above you, creating narrow corridors of green. But there's no anxiety in being lost here. Every path eventually leads to the center, or back to the beginning. It's a metaphor for life's journey, perhaps, where being lost is just another form of exploration. The orangery garden has a special quality in evening. The citrus trees in their large terracotta pots release a subtle fragrance that's both fresh and warming. These trees are hundreds of years old, having been carefully tended through countless seasons. They're brought inside each winter, then returned to the garden each spring, in a ritual as old as the palace itself. Water features throughout the garden create a constant, peaceful soundtrack. Besides the major fountains, there are small channels, pools, and cascades, each adding its own note to the water symphony. The sound is never loud enough to dominate, just present enough to mask any jarring noises from beyond the garden walls. As full darkness approaches, the garden doesn't become frightening, but more mysterious, more dreamlike. The paths are lit by soft lamps that create pools of golden light. Between these pools, the darkness is soft, velvety, inviting rather than forbidding. The garden at night is a different world from its daytime self. It's quieter, more contemplative, more private. It becomes a space for inner reflection, for peaceful wandering, for the kind of thoughts that only come when the world slows down. Soon, the gardens will be closed to visitors, left to the night and its creatures. But they never really sleep. They continue their quiet growth, their peaceful existence, ready to enchant new visitors when morning comes. For now, though, they're entering their own period of rest, and we should follow their example. Now, let us transport ourselves gently to the Hofburg Palace, the winter residence of the Habsburgs, located in the heart of Vienna. While Schönbrunn dreams in its gardens, the Hofburg stands amid the city, yet maintains its own profound peace within its many courtyards and hidden spaces. The Hofburg is not one palace but many, built over 7 centuries, each part flowing into the next, like a peaceful conversation between different eras. As you enter through the Michaelerder, the dome above you is painted with soft clouds and cherubs, creating the illusion that you're stepping not into a building, but into a gentle dream. The Swiss court, the oldest part of the complex, has a particular quality of deep quiet. The red walls have faded over centuries to a soft terracotta, warm and embracing. The courtyard is small enough to feel intimate, but large enough that your footsteps echo gently off the ancient stones. A single tree grows here, its leaves rustling softly, the only living thing in this court of stone, let me guide you to the secret garden, a hidden gem that many visitors never find. Tucked between wings of the palace, this small garden is a miracle of tranquility. Roses climb the walls, their blooms heavy with evening dew. A small fountain bubbles in the center, its sound so soft it seems like whispered secrets. The Augustinian church connected to the Hofburg holds the hearts of the Habsburgs, literally. In silver urns in the Herzgruft rest the hearts of 54 members of the Imperial family. It's not macabre, but deeply peaceful, these hearts resting together in eternal silence. The church itself is simple, almost austere, its beauty lying in its proportions and its profound sense of peace. In the Imperial apartments, Franz Joseph's daily routine created a rhythm that still seems to pulse gently through the rooms. He rose at 4 a.m. every day, worked at his simple desk until evening, taking only brief breaks for simple meals. His bedroom is touching in its simplicity. An iron campaign bed, a washstand, a prie-dieu for morning prayers. Here was a man who ruled an empire but lived like a monk. Empress Elizabeth's apartments tell a different story. Sisi, as she was known, was a restless spirit who found peace only in movement and beauty. Her gymnasium, with its rings and bars, seems waiting for her to return. Her dressing room, where she spent hours having her ankle-length hair braided, still holds the faint scent of the violet perfume she favored. The Imperial silver collection gleams softly in its cases, each piece reflecting the dim light like captured moonbeams. These aren't just utensils, but works of art, soup tureens shaped like swans, centerpieces that recreate entire gardens in silver and gold. They were used for state dinners, where hundreds of courses were served over many hours, each one a small ceremony of taste and presentation. The Spanish riding school stables are a haven of peaceful activity, even in the evening. The Lipizzaner horses stand quietly in their stalls, their white coats gleaming in the soft light. Each horse has its own personality, its own preferences. Some enjoy having their foreheads rubbed, others prefer gentle scratches behind their ears. The smell here is clean and sweet. Hay, leather, and the warm scent of the horses themselves. The National Library's State Hall is breathtaking in its peaceful grandeur. 80 meters long, 20 meters high, with 200,000 volumes reaching toward the frescoed ceiling. The books create their own climate, their own atmosphere. The silence here is profound, broken only by the occasional creak of old wood adjusting to temperature changes. In the Butterfly House, part of the newer additions to the palace complex, tropical butterflies float like living flowers. Even in the evening, some remain active, their wings catching the artificial sunlight. They land gently on the tropical plants, on benches, sometimes on visitors who stand very still. Their life cycle, from caterpillar to chrysalis to butterfly, happens here in full view, a gentle reminder of transformation and beauty. The treasury holds the crown jewels, but in this evening light we imagine them sleeping in their cases. The imperial crown, nearly 1,000 years old, rests on its cushion. The holy lance, said to have pierced Christ's side, lies in its reliquary. These objects have witnessed centuries of ceremony, of power transferred peacefully from one generation to the next. Hidden staircases throughout the Hofburg lead to unexpected places. Servants once used these passages to move unseen through the palace, maintaining the illusion that everything happened by magic. Now they're mostly closed, but you can imagine the soft footsteps that once filled them, the quiet dedication of those who kept the palace running smoothly. The Hofburg's cellars stretch far underground, a labyrinth of storage rooms and passages. Wine cellars hold vintages from centuries past, their bottles covered in dust and dreams. Some of these wines will never be opened, kept as liquid history, testament to harvests long past. As we complete our tour of the Hofburg's hidden corners, feel how each space we've visited has its own particular piece. Some are grand, some intimate, but all contribute to the palace's overall atmosphere of quiet dignity. The Hofburg doesn't shout its importance. It whispers it, invites you to discover it slowly, peacefully, at your own pace. As darkness fully embraces Vienna's palaces, let me share with you some of the gentle legends and stories that drift through these halls like evening mist. These tales have been told for centuries, becoming softer and more dreamlike with each retelling. There's the story of the White Lady, a peaceful ghost said to wander Schönbrunns halls. She's not a frightening specter, but a protective presence, checking on the palace as a devoted housekeeper might. Some say she's the spirit of a lady-in-waiting who loved the palace so much she chose to remain. When spotted, she merely nods and continues her eternal rounds, her footsteps making no sound on the polished floors. In the Hofburg, they tell of Emperor Franz Joseph's morning routine, so punctual that servants could set their watches by it. Even now, some claim that at 4 a.m., you can hear the faint scratch of his pen on paper, the ghost of duty still working at that simple desk. It's a comforting sound, the idea that dedication and service continue beyond mortal bounds. The Gloriette holds its own legend. On misty mornings, they say you can see the figure of Maria Theresa standing at its arches, surveying her peaceful domain. She doesn't appear sad or longing, but content, watching over the palace and gardens she loved so dearly. Sometimes she's accompanied by the faint sound of a harpsichord, perhaps the ghost of young Mozart's music following her still. There's a touching story about the palace roses. One particular rose bush in the Schönbrunn gardens is said to bloom whenever a true love story begins in Vienna. The gardeners tend it with special care, though they'll never confirm or deny the legend. Its blooms are particularly fragrant, with a scent that seems to contain memories of all the lovers who've walked these paths. The Lipizzanner horses have their own mythology. It's said that each white stallion is born dark and gradually becomes white, like a living metaphor for wisdom and purity emerging over time. The most talented horses are said to choose their riders, not the other way around. In the quiet of the evening stables, you might hear them dreaming, their hooves moving gently as they practice their elegant steps in sleep. In the palace chapel, there's a legend about a painting of the Madonna that seems to change expression depending on who looks at it. The sorrowful see compassion in her eyes, the joyful see shared happiness, the tired see an invitation to rest. It's probably a trick of the light, the way the old paint catches shadows, but the effect is undeniably peaceful. The Chinese rooms hold a story about the porcelain figures displayed there. On the night of the full moon, they say these figures come alive, performing the scenes they depict in miniature silence. Tiny farmers tend invisible rice fields, minute nobles take tea, diminutive birds take flight around the room, all returning to stillness before dawn. There's a bittersweet legend about Empress Elizabeth's exercise room. They say that on certain evenings, you can hear the faint creak of the gymnastics rings swaying, as if Cece's restless spirit still seeks the peace that physical movement brought her in life. It's probably just the old building settling, but the sound has a rhythmic, almost meditative quality. The palace mirrors hold their own mysteries. Some say that if you look into them at twilight, you might see not your own reflection, but glimpses of the past. A court lady adjusting her gown, a nobleman checking his medals, children playing in their Sunday best. These visions last only seconds, like memories surfacing briefly before sinking back into silver depths. In the treasury, the Holy Lance is said to glow faintly on certain holy days, though the rational explanation involves the way light filters through the windows at specific angles. Still, guards have reported a sense of deep peace when alone with the ancient relic, as if it radiates tranquility accumulated over centuries. The garden mazes have collected their share of gentle legends. Children who've played in them report meeting a kind old gardener who helps them find their way out, though no such gardener is employed there. He wears old-fashioned clothes and speaks in the German of centuries past, always ensuring the lost find their way before vanishing among the hedges. There's a musical legend, too. In the rooms where Mozart, Beethoven, and Schubert performed, sensitive listeners claim to hear faint melodies when the palace is very quiet. Not full compositions, just fragments. A few notes from a sonata, a whisper of a waltz, a hint of a lullaby. The music seems to live in the walls themselves, emerging when conditions are just right. The palace cats, for there have always been palace cats, are said to be descendants of a single blessed feline who saved Maria Theresa from a poisonous spider. These cats are treated with special respect, allowed to wander where they will. They seem to know secrets, walking purposefully to specific spots and sitting as if watching invisible performances. The Fountain of Youth legend is particularly charming. Somewhere in the Schönbrunn Gardens, they say, is a hidden spring, perhaps the original beautiful spring, whose waters grant not eternal youth, but eternal peace. Those who find it and drink from it are said to carry that peace with them always, no matter where life takes them, as these legends wrap around you like a soft shawl. Remember that their truth lies not in their factual accuracy, but in their emotional resonance. They're stories that have been told to help people sleep, to bring comfort, to add magic to already magical places. Whether you believe them or not, they're now part of your journey through these peaceful palaces. Our journey now carries us gently to the Belvedere Palace, actually two palaces, the upper and lower Belvedere, connected by one of the most beautiful gardens in Europe. Prince Eugene of Savoy built this complex as his summer residence, and it breathes a different air from the Imperial palaces. More intimate, more personal, more like a peaceful dream made manifest. The lower Belvedere appears first, glowing softly in the evening light. Its facade is more playful than the Imperial palaces, with sculptural decorations that seem to dance even while standing still. The building embraces you rather than impressing you, its scale human and welcoming. The orange trees in pots by the entrance release their citrus perfume into the evening air. Inside, the marble hall opens before you, but despite its name, it doesn't feel cold or hard. The marble is warm-toned, cream and pink and gold, like sunset clouds turned to stone. The ceiling fresco shows Prince Eugene being welcomed into Olympus, but the scene is peaceful, almost domestic. Gods and heroes relaxing together in eternal afternoon light. The prince's private apartments reveal a man of refined taste and peaceful pursuits. His bedroom is surprisingly simple, the bed draped in soft fabrics that seem to invite rest. His study contains not just military maps, but books of poetry, volumes on gardening, treatises on art. Here was a warrior who found his greatest joy in beauty and tranquility. Stepping into the gardens between the palaces is like entering a living painting. The formal parterre spreads before you in perfect symmetry, but it's a gentle perfection, nothing rigid or harsh. The hedges are trimmed into soft curves. The gravel paths wind invitingly. Even in the fading light, you can see how every element has been placed to create harmony. The cascade fountain creates a peaceful soundtrack as water flows down multiple levels, each tier adding its own note to the aquatic symphony. The sound changes as you move through the garden, louder near the fountain, softer as you wander the side paths, but always present, always soothing. The sphinxes guarding the garden stairs have faces that seem to smile in the evening light. Unlike their Egyptian inspirations, these sphinxes aren't mysterious or forbidding, but welcoming, as if they're pleased you've come to visit. Their bronze has developed a patina that makes them seem to glow with inner warmth. As you climb the gentle slope toward the upper belvedere, the garden reveals new perspectives with each step. Looking back, the lower belvedere seems to settle into the landscape like it grew there naturally. Looking forward, the upper belvedere rises like a vision, its windows catching the last rays of sunlight. The upper belvedere is grander, but still maintains that essential peacefulness. Its facade is reflected perfectly in the long pool before it, creating a double image that seems to float between earth and sky. The reflection ripples gently when a breeze passes, making the palace seem to breathe. Inside, the marble hall here is even more magnificent, but the magnificence is soft, enveloping. The ceiling fresco by Carlo Carlone shows Prince Eugene's apotheosis, but the prince looks peaceful, almost reluctant to accept divine honors. He'd rather be in his garden. The painting seems to suggest tending his orange trees. The palace now houses a magnificent art collection, and even in our imaginary evening visit, we can sense the presence of these masterworks. Klimt's The Kiss rests here, that golden embrace that seems to stop time itself. The painting radiates warmth and peace, love captured in gold leaf and gentle colors. The chapel in the upper belvedere is a jewel of Baroque architecture, but intimate despite its decoration. The altar painting shows a scene of divine peace, angels floating in golden light. The pews are worn smooth by centuries of use, each one holding the memory of quiet prayers. From the windows of the upper belvedere, Vienna spreads out in the evening light. The city's lights are beginning to twinkle, each one representing a home, a family, a small center of warmth and peace. The dome of St. Stephen's Cathedral rises in the distance, a familiar landmark that orients you in this dreamlike landscape. The Belvedere Gardens contain secret corners that reveal themselves slowly. A grove of trees that creates a natural room. A bench placed perfectly to catch the evening breeze. A statue half hidden by flowering vines. Each discovery feels like a gift presented by the garden itself. The orangery, where Prince Eugene's precious citrus trees spent their winters, still stands. You can imagine the care with which these trees were tended, moved in and out with the seasons. Some of them gifts from other courts, living symbols of friendship and peace. As night fully arrives, the Belvedere palaces are illuminated, but softly, respectfully. The light emphasizes their beauty without overwhelming it. They glow like lanterns in the darkness, beacons of culture and peace in the heart of the city. The guards who watch over the Belvedere at night move quietly, respectfully, understanding that they're guardians, not just of buildings, but of dreams made manifest in stone and garden. Their presence is reassuring, a reminder that these peaceful places are protected, preserved for future generations to find solace in. As we prepare to leave the Belvedere, take one last look at the way the two palaces and their garden create a complete world. This is what Prince Eugene wanted, not just buildings, but a total environment of beauty and peace, a place where the soul could expand and rest simultaneously. And now, dear wanderer, our peaceful journey through Vienna's imperial palaces begins to draw to its natural close. Like a symphony moving into its final, quietest movement, we let the images and impressions of our evening settle gently into memory. You've walked through halls where emperors and empresses once moved with quiet dignity. You've stood in rooms where Mozart's young fingers first touched ivory keys. You've breathed the air of gardens that have been tended with love for centuries. Each step has been a movement deeper into peace, each palace a different verse in Vienna's eternal lullaby. The palaces are settling now into their nighttime quiet. The last visitors have departed. The lights have been dimmed to their gentlest glow. The guards walk their rounds with soft steps, checking that all is secure, all is peaceful. The palaces themselves seem to exhale slowly, releasing the day's energy and settling into dreams. In Schönbrunn, the mirrors in the great gallery hold the last traces of light, reflecting nothing now but shadows and the faint glow from the city beyond. The parquet floors rest, no longer echoing with footsteps. The chandeliers hang still, their crystals occasionally tinkling softly as the building settles, like wind chimes in the gentlest breeze. The gardens sleep under their blanket of darkness. The fountains still flow, but more quietly now, their water music a whisper rather than a song. The roses have closed their blooms for the night, holding their perfume close until morning calls them to open again. The paths are empty, except for the occasional cat padding silently on some mysterious feline errand. In the Hofburg, deep in the heart of the city, the Spanish riding school's arena rests in darkness. The sand has been raked smooth, ready for tomorrow's practice. In the stables, the Liebitzoner horses sleep standing, their breathing deep and regular, occasionally shifting their weight from one leg to another in a slow, peaceful dance. The Imperial apartments hold their silence like a treasured possession. Franz Joseph's simple bed waits empty, the covers smooth and undisturbed. Cece's exercise equipment stands still, no longer needed for its restless mistress. The rooms remember their inhabitants but aren't sad. They're at peace with their role as keepers of memory. The Belvedere gardens lie in perfect stillness between their two palaces. The sphinxes continue their eternal watch, their bronze faces serene in the darkness. The cascade fountain flows on, its sound now the only movement in the garden, a constant, soothing presence that will continue through the night. All of Vienna seems to pause, to breathe slowly, to rest. The city that gave the world such beautiful music, such magnificent architecture, such peaceful gardens, knows the importance of rest. It understands that beauty needs quiet moments to be fully appreciated. That grandeur is best balanced with gentleness. As you carry these images with you towards sleep, let them arrange themselves naturally in your mind. Don't try to hold on to every detail. Let them float like leaves on a quiet pond, drifting where they will, the golden halls of Schönbrunn, the intimate corners of the Hofburg, the peaceful symmetry of the Belvedere. They're all yours now, part of your own inner palace of peaceful memories. Think of Maria Theresa, finding solace in her Chinese cabinets after a long day of ruling an empire. Think of Franz Joseph, rising before dawn to work at his simple desk, finding peace in routine and duty. Think of Prince Eugene, walking his gardens in the evening, planning not battles, but the placement of orange trees. These palaces have witnessed so much, joy and sorrow, triumph and loss, music and silence. But through it all, they've maintained their essential peacefulness. They've been refuges, sanctuaries, places where beauty could flourish even in difficult times. They remind us that humans are capable of creating spaces of transcendent peace. The marble columns stand as they have for centuries, strong but not oppressive, supportive but graceful. The frescoed ceilings float above like permanent clouds, beautiful but undemanding. The gardens grow and change with the seasons, but always return to their essential harmony. You don't need to visit Vienna physically to carry its peace with you. These palaces exist now in your imagination, perfect and eternal. You can return to them whenever you need to, walking their halls in your mind, sitting in their gardens in your dreams. The music that filled these palaces, the Mozart sonatas, the Strauss waltzes, the Schubert songs, it all continues somewhere, in some dimension, where beautiful sounds never truly fade. Perhaps you can hear it now, very faintly, like an echo of an echo, sweet and distant, and perfectly peaceful. Let your breathing slow to match the rhythm of the fountains. Let your heartbeat align with the patient tick of the palace clocks. You're safe here in this imaginary Vienna, where the evening is always perfect, the temperature always comfortable, the light always golden and soft. The palaces will be here tomorrow and the day after, and for centuries to come. They're not going anywhere. They'll wait patiently for visitors, sharing their beauty freely with all who come seeking peace. But for now, they rest and invite you to rest with them. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the images blur and soften like watercolors in rain. The sharp edges of consciousness are dissolving into the gentle curves of sleep. You're drifting now, floating on a river of peaceful impressions. Schönbrunn's yellow walls glow softly in your mind's eye. The Hofburg's courtyards echo with gentle memories. The Belvedere's gardens bloom eternally in the space between waking and sleeping. You're part of their story now, another peaceful soul who found rest in their beauty. Sleep is approaching like the evening approached Vienna, gradually, gently, inevitably. There's no need to resist. The palaces are encouraging you to rest, to dream, to let go. They've given you their gifts of beauty and history and peace. Now they release you to your own peaceful slumber. Thank you for joining me on this gentle journey through Vienna's Imperial palaces. May your dreams be filled with golden halls and peaceful gardens. May you wake refreshed, carrying a piece of Vienna's tranquility with you into tomorrow. Rest now. Rest deeply. Rest peacefully. The palaces are sleeping. Vienna is sleeping. And you, dear wanderer, are invited to join them in their peaceful slumber. Good night, sweet dreams, and peaceful rest. Welcome, peaceful wanderer, to another gentle journey with the sleeping wanderer. Tonight we're traveling together to the enchanting village of Positano, where pastel houses cascade down dramatic cliffs to meet the sapphire Mediterranean Sea, where ancient lemon terraces perfume the evening air with their sweet citrus fragrance, and where time moves with the unhurried rhythm of waves lapping against the pebbled shore. There's no rush, no agenda, just a peaceful exploration of Italy's most dreamlike coastal village that will carry you gently toward rest. Before we begin our restful adventure together, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, but only if you truly enjoy these sleepy travels. And drop a comment below telling me which magical destination you want us to visit next. Now, take a deep breath with me and let your shoulders relax. Tonight, you're safe, comfortable, and ready for a peaceful journey along the Amalfi Coast. The vertical village of Positano awaits you, bathed in the golden glow of a Mediterranean sunset. Imagine yourself standing on a terrace high above the Tyrrhenian Sea, the warm evening breeze carrying the mingled scents of lemons, jasmine, and salt air. Below you, Positano tumbles down the mountainside like a watercolor painting that has come to life. Houses in soft shades of peach, pink, yellow, and terracotta seem to defy gravity as they cling to the steep cliffs. Each building is stacked upon another, creating a vertical tapestry of Italian coastal life. The sun is beginning its slow descent toward the horizon, painting everything in the warmest, most peaceful light. The famous dome of the Church of Santa Maria Assunta, covered in its distinctive majolica tiles of yellow, green, and blue, catches the golden rays and seems to glow from within. This is the magic hour in Positano, when the entire village becomes suffused with a dreamy, almost otherworldly quality. You're dressed comfortably for our evening exploration, perhaps in soft linens that move gently with the Mediterranean breeze. Your feet are in comfortable sandals, perfect for navigating the ancient stone steps that wind through the village. There's a lightness to your being here, as if the very air of Positano has lifted any weight from your shoulders. The temperature is perfect, that ideal Mediterranean warmth that feels like a gentle embrace. The sun's rays are soft now, not the intense heat of midday, but a caressing warmth that makes you want to close your eyes and simply breathe. The air is so clear, you can see for miles along the dramatic coastline, each distant headland becoming hazier and more dreamlike until they fade into a purple mist. As we prepare to descend into the heart of Positano, let me share with you the gentle rhythm of this place. Life here moves vertically, up and down the countless steps that connect one level to another. The locals navigate these stairs with an easy grace born of generations. Their footsteps create a soft percussion that has echoed through these narrow passages for over 1,000 years. The sounds of evening Positano are beginning. Somewhere below you can hear the faint tinkling of glasses as restaurants prepare for the evening service. The distant putt-putt of a boat returning to harbor. The gentle conversation of neighbors calling to each other from terrace to terrace. And underneath it all, always, the eternal whisper of the sea. Tonight, you don't need to hurry. You don't need to see everything. Let Positano reveal itself to you slowly, gently, like a beautiful dream unfolding. When sleep calls to you, answer it peacefully. The village will still be here in your imagination, eternal and patient, whenever you wish to return. Our journey truly begins as we arrive at the famous lemon terraces that rise above Positano like ancient hanging gardens. These terraces, called limonetti by the locals, have been carved into the mountainside over centuries, each one a testament to human patience and harmony with nature. As you stand at the entrance to these groves, the first thing that strikes you is the perfume, an intoxicating blend of lemon blossoms and ripe fruit that seems to float on the evening air. The terraces stretch up the hillside in gentle steps, each level supported by dry stone walls built without mortar, fitted together with such precision that they've stood for hundreds of years. These walls are covered in patches of soft moss and tiny wildflowers that have found homes in the crevices. The stones themselves have been warmed by the day's sun and now radiate a gentle heat, creating microclimates where the lemon trees thrive. The lemon trees here are special. These are the famous Sfusato Amalfitano lemons, larger and sweeter than ordinary lemons, with the thick aromatic skins that release their oils at the slightest touch. The trees are heavy with fruit, some lemons as large as grapefruits, their bright yellow skin almost luminescent in the evening light. The branches bend gracefully under their weight, creating natural archways that you can walk beneath. Above the lemon trees, wooden trellises support ancient grapevines, their leaves creating a dappled canopy that filters the sunset into thousands of golden coins of light. The traditional pergolas are made from chestnut poles, weathered to a soft silver gray, tied together with natural fibers. This ancient system creates multiple levels of cultivation, maximizing every precious bit of flat land on these steep slopes. The path through the terraces is narrow and winding, paved with worn stone steps that have been polished smooth by countless feet. Each step is slightly different, some wide, some narrow, following the natural contours of the mountainside. Alongside the path, small channels carry water from natural springs higher up the mountain, the gentle trickle adding another layer to the evening's peaceful soundtrack. As you climb slowly through the terraces, you notice the careful attention to every detail. Nets are spread beneath some of the lemon trees to catch any fruit that might fall. These nets, made from natural fibers, create gentle hammocks of green that sway slightly in the breeze. The farmers of Positano waste nothing, understanding the precious nature of everything these terraces produce. The soil here is special too, a mixture of volcanic ash from Mount Vesuvius, composted leaves, and centuries of organic matter. It's dark and rich, almost black, contrasting beautifully with the bright yellow lemons and the green foliage. When you breathe deeply, you can smell the earth itself, fertile and alive, mixing with the citrus perfume. Small lizards bask on the warm stone walls, their bodies perfectly still, except for the occasional flick of a tail. They're the same color as the stones, visible only when they move. These tiny guardians of the terraces have been here as long as the walls themselves, generation after generation, living their peaceful lives among the lemons. Here and there you spot small shrines built into the walls, tiny niches containing pictures of saints or the Madonna, often decorated with fresh flowers. These are places where the farmers pause to give thanks for the harvest, to ask for protection from storms, to maintain the spiritual connection with this land that feeds them. Some shrines have small candles flickering, their light barely visible in the sunset, but adding to the sacred feeling of these groves. The terraces are irrigated by an ancient Arabic system of channels and gates, allowing water to flow from level to level. The sound of water is constant but gentle, sometimes running underground through terracotta pipes, sometimes flowing openly in small stone channels. This water system is over 1,000 years old, still functioning perfectly, a testament to the ingenuity of those who came before. As you reach a wider terrace, you find a simple wooden bench placed perfectly to catch the view. From here, you can see down through the lemon groves to Positano below, and beyond to the infinite blue of the Mediterranean. The sun is lower now, turning the sea into a sheet of hammered gold. Boats leave silver trails as they make their way along the coast. Everything is peaceful, everything is perfect. As we rest among the lemon terraces, let me share with you the gentle history of this magical place. Positano's story unfolds like the village itself, in layers, each era adding its own color to the overall tapestry. The name Positano comes from an ancient legend, soft and dreamlike as the evening light around us. They say that a ship carrying a Byzantine icon of the Virgin Mary was sailing past this coast when it suddenly became becalmed. No wind would fill the sails, no current would carry them forward. Then the sailors heard a voice, soft but clear, saying, "Posa, Posa, put me down, put me down." When they brought the icon ashore at this very spot, the wind immediately returned. The grateful sailors built a church for the icon, and a village grew around it. That church, rebuilt many times, is now the Santa Maria Assunta, whose dome glows below us. But humans have been drawn to these cliffs much longer than that. The ancient Greeks sailed these waters, establishing trading posts along the coast. They brought with them the cultivation of grapes and olives, and perhaps most importantly, their understanding of how to build on steep terrain. Some of the techniques used in these lemon terraces can be traced back to those ancient Greek farmers. The Romans came next, building grand villas along this coast. Wealthy patricians would escape the heat and politics of Rome to rest in the cool sea breezes of what they called the Divine Coast. Remnants of their presence are still found. Pieces of marble columns built into terrace walls, fragments of decorative mosaics uncovered when planting new lemon trees. They lived here peacefully, writing poetry, discussing philosophy, watching the same sunsets we watch tonight. During the Middle Ages, Positano grew as part of the powerful maritime republic of Amalfi. The village became prosperous through trade, its sailors known throughout the Mediterranean. The steep terrain that might have been a disadvantage became a strength. The village was easy to defend, impossible to attack from the sea. The narrow stepped streets we'll explore were designed this way purposefully, allowing defenders to hold off invaders while citizens retreated higher up the mountain. The Saracen raids of the 9th and 10th centuries led to the construction of the warning towers you can still see along the coast. These towers would light fires to warn of approaching pirates, the smoke signals passing from tower to tower faster than any ship could sail. But even these dramatic times were mostly peaceful. The raids were rare, and life in Positano continued its gentle rhythm of fishing, farming, and trading. It was the Saracens, despite their fearsome reputation, who brought the techniques of lemon cultivation that transformed these hillsides. They introduced the Arabic irrigation systems we see today, the methods of terracing, the knowledge of how to graft and improve fruit trees. What might have been conflict became cultural exchange, enriching Positano forever. The village reached its golden age during the 16th and 17th centuries, when Positano's fleet of ships traded throughout the Mediterranean. The beautiful Baroque mansions that dot the village were built with this wealth, their Majolica-tiled domes and ornate balconies adding splashes of color to the natural palette of the coast. The captains and merchants who built these homes filled them with treasures from distant lands. Persian carpets, Chinese porcelain, African ivory, creating a cosmopolitan culture in this small vertical village. Then came a period of gentle decline. By the 19th century, many of Positano's residents emigrated to America, seeking new opportunities. The village became quieter, almost forgotten, known only to the fishermen who still worked its waters and the farmers who still tended its lemon groves. This peaceful isolation preserved Positano's authentic character, saving it from the industrialization that changed so much of Europe. The village's rebirth began in the 1950s, when artists and writers discovered its unspoiled beauty. John Steinbeck wrote about Positano, calling it a dream place that isn't quite real when you are there and becomes beckoningly real after you have gone. His words drew others, painters, musicians, filmmakers, who found inspiration in the dramatic landscape and peaceful atmosphere. But Positano has never lost its essential character. The same families who have tended these lemon groves for generations still tend them today. The fishermen still mend their nets on the beach each morning. The ceramic artisans still paint their tiles by hand, using designs passed down through centuries. Tourism has brought prosperity, but it hasn't changed the soul of the place. The history of Positano is written in its stones, its steps, its terraces. Each wall contains fragments of previous walls. Each house is built on foundations laid centuries ago. The village is like a living archaeology, where past and present exist simultaneously, peacefully, each respecting the other, as the sun continues its descent, painting the village in ever softer shades of gold and pink. You can feel all this history around you, not as a weight, but as a gentle presence. Thousands of years of human life on these cliffs, all seeking the same things: beauty, peace, sustenance from the land and sea. You're part of this continuum now, another peaceful soul drawn to Positano's eternal charm. Let us explore the unique architecture of Positano, where buildings seem to cascade down the cliffsides like a frozen waterfall of color and form. Each structure is a small miracle of engineering and aesthetics, designed to exist in harmony with this dramatic landscape. As we descend from the lemon terraces, the architectural wonders of Positano reveal themselves slowly, each turn offering a new perspective. The houses of Positano follow no master plan, no rigid architectural rules. Instead, they've grown organically over centuries, each building finding its own way to perch on the steep terrain. The result is a three-dimensional maze that delights the eye and soothes the soul. No two houses are exactly alike, yet they all share a family resemblance, united by common materials and methods. The typical Positano house is cubic in form, with thick walls that keep the interiors cool in summer and warm in winter. These walls are made from local stone and covered with plaster, then painted in those distinctive pastel colors: soft pink like the inside of a seashell, pale yellow like morning sunlight, gentle peach like the sunset we're watching now. The colors were traditionally made from natural pigments mixed with lime, creating hues that seem to glow with inner light. Notice how each house has its own terrace, its own small piece of horizontal space carved from the vertical world. These terraces are the true living spaces of Positano, outdoor rooms where life is lived when weather permits. They're paved with handmade ceramic tiles and patterns that have been traditional here for centuries. Geometric designs in white and blue, green and yellow, creating carpets of color under the open sky. The famous Majolica tiles deserve special attention. Each one is made by hand in local workshops, painted with designs that might be centuries old or newly imagined. The glazing process gives them a lustrous finish that catches and reflects light, making the buildings shimmer in the sun. You'll see these tiles everywhere, on church domes, on the house numbers, on garden walls, each one a small work of art. The roofs of Positano are either flat terraces or gentle domes, both designed to collect rainwater, precious in this Mediterranean climate. The domed roofs, called cupole, are engineering marvels, self-supporting structures made without wooden frames, built using techniques passed down from Byzantine times. From the outside, they're often covered with those same Majolica tiles, creating patterns visible from the terraces above. Arches are everywhere in Positano's architecture. Doorways, windows, passages between buildings. The arch is the perfect architectural form for this terrain, distributing weight evenly, allowing buildings to support each other. Walking through Positano is like walking through a series of frames, each arch presenting a new picture of sea, sky, or village. The staircases of Positano are architecture in themselves. There are ancient steps carved directly from the rock, medieval stairs built from stone blocks, modern concrete steps painted white. Some are straight, some spiral, some zigzag up the cliff faces. Together they create a vertical transportation network that predates any elevator. The rhythm of climbing and descending these stairs becomes meditative, each step a small moment of connection with the earth. The churches of Positano show another aspect of the architectural tradition. The Church of Santa Maria Assunta, with its distinctive dome, is the most famous, but there are smaller chapels scattered throughout the village. Each one is a jewel box of Baroque decoration, gold leaf, painted ceilings, marble altars, yet they maintain a sense of intimacy and peace. The contrast between their ornate interiors and simple exteriors is part of their charm. The villas of the wealthy merchants and sea captains represent the grand tradition of Positano architecture. These larger buildings incorporate Moorish influences, horseshoe arches, interior courtyards, fountains. Their gardens are architectural spaces too, with pergolas covered in vines, terraces supported by columns, outdoor stairs that seem to float against the cliff faces. Modern architecture in Positano must respect the traditional forms. New buildings use the same materials, the same colors, the same basic shapes. They might have larger windows to capture the views, or hidden modern conveniences, but from a distance, they blend seamlessly with the structures that are centuries old. This architectural continuity gives Positano its timeless quality. The relationship between architecture and nature is what makes Positano truly special. Buildings don't dominate the landscape, they inhabit it. Lemon trees grow on terraces built into house walls. Bougainvillea cascades over balconies in waterfalls of purple and pink. Jasmine winds around columns, perfuming entire streets. The boundary between built and natural is beautifully blurred. Small architectural details catch your eye as we walk. A carved stone face above a doorway, worn smooth by centuries of weather. An iron balcony with delicate scrollwork, each curl hand-forged. A ceramic nameplate with a family name in flowing script. A small window placed perfectly to frame a view of the sea. These details accumulate, creating richness without overwhelming. As the light continues to soften, the architecture of Positano takes on new qualities. Shadows deepen in the narrow alleys, creating cool pools of blue. The last sunlight catches the upper stories, making them glow while the lower levels slip into peaceful evening. The buildings seem to settle, like birds roosting for the night, each one secure in its place on these ancient cliffs. The culture of Positano and the Amalfi Coast flows as gently as the evening breeze that carries the scent of lemons and sea salt through the village. This is a culture shaped by the meeting of land and sea, by centuries of trade and exchange, by the simple necessity of living harmoniously on these dramatic cliffs. As we continue our peaceful descent through the village, let the cultural richness of this place wash over you like gentle waves. The art of ceramics is central to Positano's cultural identity. In small workshops throughout the village, artisans continue traditions that date back to the Renaissance. The process is meditative to watch, the clay shaped on wheels that turn with hypnotic rhythm, the careful painting of designs with brushes so fine they hold only a few hairs, the transformation that occurs in the kiln where fire fixes beauty permanently. Each piece is unique, carrying the subtle signature of its maker's hand. The designs painted on these ceramics tell stories of the coast. Lemons and lemon blossoms, of course, but also fish swimming in stylized waves, sailing ships with billowing sails, geometric patterns inspired by Arabic art, flowers and vines that seem to grow across the surface. The colors are those of the Mediterranean, deep blues, sunny yellows, sea greens, the orange of sunset. These aren't just decorative objects, but functional art, used daily in homes and restaurants. The cuisine of Positano is a culture unto itself, based on the blessed simplicity of perfect ingredients prepared with respect. The lemons from these terraces flavor everything, squeezed over fresh fish, zested into pasta, transformed into limoncello, that sweet liqueur that tastes like liquid sunshine. The tomatoes grown on these same terraces are so sweet, they're almost fruit, their flavor concentrated by the volcanic soil and intense sun. In the evening kitchens below us, you can imagine the gentle rituals of cooking. Grandmothers making pasta by hand, their fingers knowing exactly how thick to roll the dough. Fishermen's wives preparing the day's catch with nothing more than olive oil, garlic, and parsley, letting the flavor of the sea speak for itself. The scent of baking bread drifting from ovens that have been used for generations. The fishing culture remains strong despite the tourist economy. Each morning before the village wakes, fishermen launch their small boats from the beach, rowing out past the breakers to where the fish run. They use techniques passed from father to son, reading the water's color to know where fish gather, understanding how moon phases affect the catch, knowing which nets for which fish. Their return is still an event, locals gathering to see what the sea has provided. Music flows through Positano's culture, like water through its ancient channels. Not grand opera or symphony, but the intimate music of daily life. A fisherman humming while mending nets, a grandmother singing lullabies that her grandmother sang, the bells of Santa Maria Assunta marking the hours with bronze voices that have called to the faithful for centuries. In the evening, perhaps a guitar on a terrace, playing the old Neapolitan songs that everyone knows by heart. The tradition of the passeggiata, the evening stroll, is sacred here. As the sun sets, locals emerge to walk slowly through the village, greeting neighbors, sharing the day's news, simply being present in their community. It's not exercise but social communion, a daily reaffirmation of the bonds that hold the village together. Visitors are welcomed into this ritual, becoming temporary members of the community. The religious culture weaves through everything, not oppressively but comfortingly, like a familiar melody. Small shrines at street corners where people pause to cross themselves. The feast days that punctuate the calendar with the celebration. The tradition of the Christmas presepe, nativity scenes created with figures made by local artisans, some placing the Holy Family in settings that look remarkably like Positano itself. Fashion has become part of Positano's modern culture, but it's fashion that reflects the relaxed elegance of the coast. The famous Positano style, flowing linen dresses, handmade sandals, clothes that move with the body and the breeze. In small boutiques, seamstresses create garments that are both timeless and contemporary, using techniques learned from their mothers but adapting to modern tastes. The culture of hospitality runs deep. This isn't the formal hospitality of grand hotels, but something warmer, more personal. The owner of a small restaurant remembering your preferences. A shopkeeper offering you a glass of limoncello while you browse. The genuine pleasure locals take in sharing their village with visitors who appreciate its beauty. The relationship with nature is perhaps the deepest cultural tradition. The understanding that the land and sea provide everything necessary for a good life. The knowledge of which wild herbs to gather, which fish run in which season, how to read weather signs and cloud formations over the mountains. This isn't knowledge from books, but wisdom passed through generations of observation and experience. Craftsmanship is valued here above mass production. The shoemaker who still makes sandals by hand, measuring each foot individually. The carpenter who repairs the traditional wooden boats, using tools his grandfather used. The gardener who knows exactly when to harvest lemons for the best flavor. These artisans are cultural treasures, keeping alive skills that elsewhere have been forgotten. As evening deepens, you can feel this culture settling around you like a comfortable shawl. It's not a museum culture preserved behind glass, but a living tradition that continues to evolve while maintaining its essential character. The young people who left for education or opportunity often return, bringing new ideas but respecting old ways. This balance between tradition and change gives Positano's culture its vitality and peace. The evening light in Positano has a quality unlike anywhere else in the world. As the sun descends toward the horizon, it transforms this vertical village into a living painting, where every moment brings new colors, new shadows, new revelations of beauty. Let us pause here on this terrace and observe how the changing light creates an ever-shifting dreamscape. The sun is now low enough that its rays come almost horizontally, threading between the buildings, creating long shadows that stretch like fingers across the village. These shadows are not harsh but soft-edged, purple and blue, cool refuges from the warm light. They move slowly, almost imperceptibly, marking time in the gentlest way possible. The colors of the buildings transform in this light. The pale pink house below us has become a warm rose, almost glowing from within. The yellow church dome has turned to gold, then to amber, like honey held up to the light. The white walls reflect the sunset, becoming canvases painted with every shade of orange and pink. Even the simple gray stones of the ancient steps have warmed to a soft lavender. The sea has become a mirror of hammered copper, each small wave catching and splitting the light into countless fragments. Fishing boats returning to harbor leave trails of silver in their wake. The islands in the distance, Ligali, where the sirens once sang, have become purple silhouettes floating on the golden water. The horizon line has softened, the boundary between sea and sky becoming beautifully uncertain. The lemon groves around us have taken on an ethereal quality. The fruit glows like lanterns among the dark green leaves. The white lemon blossoms, some still open despite the late hour, seem to hold the light, becoming small stars in the gathering dusk. The shadows beneath the trees have deepened to a mysterious blue-green, inviting and cool. Notice how the light reveals textures that were invisible in the harsh noon sun. The rough plaster of the walls shows every tiny imperfection, each one catching light or shadow. The ceramic tiles reveal their hand-painted nature, the slight irregularities that prove human hands created them. The wooden pergolas show the grain of the wood, the places worn smooth by countless hands. The silver patina of age, the play of light through the village creates natural spotlights. A narrow alley suddenly illuminated, revealing a cat stretching in a doorway. A balcony caught in golden light, while everything around it rests in shadow. A window that blazes like fire as it reflects the sunset directly. These moments of illumination come and go, each one a small miracle of timing and angle. The bougainvillea that cascades over walls and terraces has become transformed. In daylight, it's brilliantly purple or pink, almost aggressive in its beauty. But now, backlit by the sunset, the flowers have become translucent, like stained glass windows. You can see the delicate veins in each petal, the structure that supports such abundant beauty. The air itself seems to have color now, a golden haze perhaps, from the day's warmth rising from the stones, perhaps from the mist beginning to form over the sea. This atmospheric perspective makes distant objects seem to float, disconnected from the earth. The mountains behind Positano have become layers of blue, each ridge lighter than the one before, creating a sense of infinite depth. People moving through the village have become silhouettes, their features softened, their movements more graceful in this forgiving light. A woman hanging laundry on a terrace becomes a figure from a Renaissance painting. Children playing on the steps become dancing shadows. An elderly man smoking his evening pipe on a balcony becomes a study in contemplation. The clouds, if there are any, have become the stars of this evening show. They catch colors that don't seem possible. Orange, pink, purple, gold, changing moment by moment. Sometimes they're lit from below, glowing against the darkening sky. Sometimes they're dark against the bright horizon, adding drama to the peaceful scene. The transition from day to night is so gradual here, so gentle. There's no sudden darkness, but a slow dimming, like someone gradually lowering the lights in a theater. First, the valleys lose the light, then the lower terraces, then the middle village. The church dome and the highest houses hold the light longest, reluctant to let the day go. As the sun finally touches the horizon, there's a moment of perfect balance. The sky above has begun to show the first stars, while the horizon still glows with warm light. The village exists in two worlds simultaneously, the ending day and the beginning night. This liminal time has a special peace, a sense of pause between one state and another. The windows of Positano begin to glow from within as lamps are lit. Warm yellow light spills onto terraces and balconies. These small illuminations don't compete with the sunset, but complement it, adding human warmth to nature's display. You can see into some windows, a family gathering for dinner, someone reading in a comfortable chair, the flicker of a television mixing with candlelight. The temperature is dropping slightly, just enough to make you appreciate the warmth still radiating from the stone walls. The evening breeze has picked up, carrying new scents, dinner cooking, night blooming jasmine, the earthier smell of dew beginning to form. These sensory changes mark the transition as surely as the changing light. Soon, the sun will slip below the horizon, and Positano will enter its nighttime phase. But for now, in this extended moment of twilight, the village exists in a state of perfect beauty. Neither day nor night, but something in between. Something magical and peaceful and eternal. Away from the main pathways, Positano holds countless secret spaces that reveal themselves only to those who wander with patience and peace. Let me guide you now to these hidden corners, these forgotten gardens, these quiet places where the true soul of the village resides. Each one is a small sanctuary, a place where time seems to pause. Down a narrow alley that seems to lead nowhere, you discover a tiny piazza no bigger than a living room. 3 ancient olive trees grow here, their gnarled trunks telling stories of centuries. Beneath them, a simple stone bench worn smooth by generations of sitters. A small fountain bubbles in the corner, its water coming from a spring high in the mountains. This is where the old men of the neighborhood gather in the morning to discuss the weather, the fishing, the unchanging rhythms of village life. Behind an unmarked wooden door, if you knew to push it open, you'd find a secret garden that belongs to no one and everyone. Roses climb the walls in magnificent disorder. Jasmine has woven itself through an old iron gate, creating a living curtain. Herbs grow wild, rosemary, thyme, sage, their fragrances mixing in the evening air. Someone has placed a few chairs here, painted blue and weathered by years of sun and rain. It's a communal secret, maintained by whoever feels moved to pull a weed or water a struggling plant. The cemetery of Positano, built into the hillside above the town, is perhaps the most peaceful hidden corner of all. Not morbid but serene, with cypress trees standing like gentle sentinels. The graves are decorated with photographs, fresh flowers, small mementos. From here, the departed have the best view in Positano, overlooking the sea they knew in life. The paths between the graves are planted with lavender and rosemary, herbs of remembrance. In the oldest part of the village, where tourists rarely venture, narrow passages lead to unexpected treasures. A tiny chapel, no bigger than a bedroom, with frescoes painted by an unknown artist centuries ago. The colors have faded to pastels, making the saints and angels seem even more dreamlike. A single candle burns before the altar, maintained by someone who comes each day to tend this forgotten sacred space. There's a terrace restaurant that locals keep secret, reached only by climbing unmarked steps behind the post office. The owner grows his own tomatoes and basil in pots scattered everywhere. There's no menu. He cooks what the market provided that day. The tables are mismatched, the chairs comfortable rather than elegant. But the view from here encompasses the entire coast, and the food tastes of pure simplicity and love. Hidden gardens bloom throughout Positano, tucked into impossible spaces. A vertical garden climbing a retaining wall, created entirely from plants growing in recycled containers. A rooftop transformed into a jungle of potted plants, with hammocks strung between improvised supports. A narrow space between buildings where someone has trained grapevines to create a living tunnel, cool and green even on the hottest days. The old wash houses, where women once gathered to do laundry and share gossip, still exist if you know where to look. The stone basins are dry now, but water still flows from the ancient spouts. These places have been transformed into quiet sitting areas, where you can rest and listen to the water's constant voice. Ferns grow from cracks in the stones, and small fish swim in the collection pools, descendants of those that have lived here for generations. There's a particular stairway that leads nowhere anymore. The building it once served collapsed in an earthquake decades ago, but the stairs remain, climbing to a platform that offers a perfect meditation spot. Someone has placed cushions here, protected from rain by a simple awning. It's become a refuge for those seeking solitude, a place to watch the sunset in complete peace. In the basement of an old palazzo, now divided into apartments, the original cistern still exists. It's a vast underground space with vaulted ceilings, cool and quiet as a cathedral. The acoustics are perfect. A whisper carries across the entire space. A single note resonates for long seconds. Musicians sometimes come here to practice, their music filtering up through the building like a blessing. A network of cats inhabits these hidden spaces, knowing every shortcut, every sunny spot, every source of food or water. They're not exactly wild, not exactly tame, existing in that perfect state between. They appear and disappear like small spirits, adding life to quiet corners. Each one has its territory, its routine, its favorite humans who leave out food and water. Behind the church, a small door leads to the priest's garden. Here grow the flowers that decorate the altar, the herbs that flavor his simple meals, but also curiosities. A pomegranate tree grown from a seed brought from Jerusalem, a cutting from the rose that grows at Padre Pio's shrine. The priest tends this garden in the early morning, finding peace before the day's duties begin. There's a particular spot where 3 staircases meet, creating a small triangular platform with benches. From here, you can see 3 different views of Positano simultaneously: the sea, the mountains, and the village itself. It's a place of convergence where different paths and perspectives meet. Lovers meet here, friends gather, solitary souls come to think. The benches are worn smooth, the stones polished by countless feet. An abandoned terraced garden, once grand but now returning to nature, has become a secret paradise. The formal structure remains: stone walls, paths, a broken fountain, but wildness has crept in. Wild fennel grows tall, its feathery fronds catching the light. Poppies bloom where flower beds once held roses. Fig trees have self-seeded, their fruit free for anyone who discovers this place. It's beautiful in its gentle decay, showing how nature and architecture can merge peacefully. These hidden corners give Positano its depth, its mystery. They remind us that beyond the postcard views and famous sights, this is a living village with private spaces, secret histories, quiet refugees. Each one is a small world, complete in itself, offering a different kind of peace. Together they create a labyrinth of tranquility, waiting to be discovered by those who wander with open hearts and unhurried steps. As twilight deepens over Positano, let me share with you the gentle legends that drift through these lemon groves like evening mist. These stories have been told for generations, becoming softer and more dreamlike with each retelling, like stones worn smooth by the sea. They're part of the village's soul, neither completely true nor completely false, but something in between. The most beloved legend tells of the origin of these famous lemons. Long ago, they say, a young fisherman fell in love with a girl from the mountains. Her father forbade the match. What could a poor fisherman offer his daughter? The young man prayed to the Madonna, promising to create something beautiful if she would help him. That night, he dreamed of golden fruits growing on the steep cliffs, perfuming the air with their sweetness. When he woke, he found a single lemon in his boat, unlike any seen before, larger, sweeter, with a skin that released the most wonderful fragrance. He planted its seeds on the cliff sides, tending them with love and patience. The trees that grew produced the magnificent lemons we see today. The mountain girl's father, impressed by this miracle and the young man's dedication, gave his blessing. Their descendants still tend some of these groves, and lovers still come here to make wishes. There's a particular terrace higher up the mountain where an ancient lemon tree grows. They call it the mother tree and say it's the oldest on the coast, perhaps 1,000 years old. Its trunk is massive, gnarled, more like stone than wood. Yet every year it produces fruit, not many, but each lemon is perfect. Local tradition says that tea made from its leaves brings peaceful sleep and gentle dreams. Pregnant women come to touch its bark, believing it ensures an easy birth. The monks who once tended these terraces left their own legends. They say that Brother Francesco, a simple monk with a gift for growing things, could speak to the lemon trees. He would walk among them in the evening, whispering prayers and encouragement. His trees produced fruit year-round, even in winter when it should have been impossible. After his death, the trees continued to fruit for 7 years, then returned to normal seasons, as if they had been mourning. On certain summer nights when the moon is full and the air is very still, locals say you can hear music in the lemon groves. Not modern music, but ancient melodies played on instruments no longer made. Some say it's the echo of festivals held here centuries ago, when the harvest was celebrated with the dancing that lasted until dawn. Others believe it's the trees themselves singing, expressing their joy in their own language. There's a story about a hidden spring somewhere in these terraces, its location known only to a few old families. The water from this spring, they say, has special properties. Not magical exactly, but blessed. Lemons watered from this spring grow sweeter, their oil more fragrant. During the plague years, families who drank this water stayed healthy. The location is passed from parent to child, sworn to secrecy, ensuring the spring remains protected. The ceramic tiles you see throughout the groves, small painted scenes on walls and fountains, tell their own legendary stories. One depicts a mermaid offering lemons to a sailor, representing the marriage of land and sea that defines this coast. Another shows the Madonna standing among lemon trees, blessing the harvest. Each tile is a prayer made permanent, a hope fixed in fired clay. Children in Positano grow up with the legend of the lemon fairy. She's said to be no bigger than your hand, with wings like lemon blossoms and a dress of yellow silk. She lives in the groves, ensuring the trees stay healthy, driving away pests with her tiny golden wand. If you leave a saucer of milk and honey near a lemon tree, she might grant a wish. But the wish must be gentle, for health, for love, for peace, never for wealth or power. The full moon has a special significance in the lemon groves. Old-timers insist that lemons harvested under a full moon keep longer, their flavor more intense. There's a tradition of full moon harvests, when families work by moonlight, singing the old songs, sharing food and wine. They say the moonlight enters the fruit, giving it a subtle luminescence that you can see if you know how to look. During World War II, these groves hid refugees and resistance fighters. The terraces, with their many levels and hidden corners, provided perfect concealment. There's a story of a German officer who came searching for partisans. He became lost in the maze of terraces, wandering for hours. Finally, exhausted, he sat beneath a lemon tree and fell asleep. When he woke, the war was over. Whether from sleeping for days or years, no one can say. The wind in the groves has its own legends. The sirocco, the warm wind from Africa, is said to carry messages from distant lands. If you listen carefully when it blows through the lemon leaves, you might hear words in Arabic, Greek, or ancient Latin, echoes of all the civilizations that have touched this coast. The tramontana, the north wind, brings clarity of thought and peaceful sleep. Some legends are more recent, but already taking on mythic qualities. The story of the composer who lived here in the 1960s, writing his symphony among the lemon trees. He claimed the rhythm came from the sound of water in the irrigation channels, the melody from the wind in the leaves. The symphony was never published, but fragments of it are still hummed by old-timers who heard him playing piano with his windows open. These legends weave through the lemon groves like the ancient irrigation channels, nourishing something deeper than just trees. They connect the present to the past, the mundane to the magical, the real to the dreamed. Whether you believe them or not doesn't matter. They're part of the perfume of this place, as essential as the scent of lemon blossoms in the evening air. As darkness gently embraces Positano, the village begins its nightly transformation, settling into rhythms as old as the cliffs themselves. This is a special time when the bustling energy of day gives way to something quieter, more intimate, more deeply peaceful. Let us descend now through the village as it prepares for rest, observing the gentle rituals that mark the end of another day. The restaurants are beginning their evening service, but without rush or clamor. Waiters move between tables with practiced grace, lighting candles that will burn throughout the night. The flames flicker in glass holders, creating small pools of warm light that make each table an island of intimacy. The smell of garlic and olive oil drifts from kitchens where chefs prepare simple dishes with profound care. On the terraces, families gather for the evening meal. These are not hurried dinners, but leisurely affairs that will stretch for hours. Grandmothers emerge with platters of food that represent lifetimes of cooking knowledge. Children are allowed to stay up late, their voices mixing with adult conversation, learning the art of being together. The clink of glasses, the murmur of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter. These sounds float up through the village like a gentle symphony. The shops are closing one by one, their owners performing end-of-day rituals. The ceramic seller carefully covers his most delicate pieces. The lemon vendor arranges tomorrow's display, selecting only the most perfect fruits. The woman who sells handmade sandals counts her inventory, her fingers knowing each pair by touch. Metal shutters roll down with soft rumbles, securing treasures for the night. The Church of Santa Maria Assunta prepares for evening prayer. The sacristan moves through the space, lighting candles before the various shrines. The Byzantine icon of the Madonna, the one from the founding legend, seems to glow more mysteriously in this light. A few elderly women enter quietly, their footsteps echoing softly on the marble floor. They've come for the rosary, a practice they've maintained for decades, their voices joining in ancient rhythms. Down at the beach, the last sunbathers are packing up, shaking sand from towels, gathering children who protest leaving. The beach attendants stack the umbrellas and chairs, creating geometric patterns against the darkening sky. The fishermen are preparing their boats for tomorrow's early departure, checking nets, coiling ropes, their movements efficient and purposeful. The sound of waves on pebbles becomes more prominent as human activity decreases. The cats of Positano emerge for their evening hunt. They materialize from shadows, stretch luxuriously, then pad silently through the streets. Restaurant owners put out dishes of leftover fish. The cats eat with dignity, aware of their ancient contract with the village. They keep the rodents away. The humans provide food. After eating, they'll find their nighttime perches, becoming guardian spirits of the sleeping village. Street lamps begin to glow throughout Positano, but they're not harsh modern lights. These are warm, gentle illuminations that respect the night rather than banishing it. They create pools of golden light, connected by paths of soft shadow. The village doesn't try to turn night into day, but accepts the darkness, works with it, finds beauty in it. The last ferries of the day are arriving at the pier, bringing visitors who'll stay the night. Their luggage wheels click on the stone paths as they search for their hotels. But even these newcomers seem to unconsciously lower their voices, sensing the village's movement toward quiet. Hotel owners greet them warmly but softly, understanding that Positano's evening peace is part of what they've come to find. In the upper reaches of the village, away from the restaurants and hotels, local life continues its ancient patterns. Television light flickers through windows, but volumes are kept low. Children are being put to bed with the same lullabies their parents heard. Elderly couples sit on balconies, not talking much, just being together, watching the stars emerge. The lemon groves above are entering their own night phase. The irrigation system continues its quiet work, water moving through channels with liquid whispers. Night-blooming flowers open, releasing fragrances different from their daytime cousins. Small nocturnal creatures emerge, geckos hunting insects, bats navigating by echolocation, owls calling from the cliff tops. The temperature has dropped to perfect sleeping weather, cool enough to want a light cover, warm enough to leave windows open. The air moves gently, carrying all the scents of the Mediterranean night. Salt, flowers, herbs, the faint sweetness of lemons. It's air that invites deep breathing, that seems to carry peace into the lungs. Young lovers find their own corners of the village, sitting close on hidden benches, whispering promises that the night keeps secret. Their presence adds to the romance of Positano, to the sense that this is a place where love is not just possible, but inevitable. They'll remember these moments forever, the village becoming part of their personal mythology. The bars are still open, but subdued. Conversations are quieter, more philosophical. Someone plays a guitar softly, old Neapolitan songs that everyone knows, but no one needs to sing loudly. Glasses of limoncello glow like liquid gold in the lamplight. These are not places of intoxication, but of gentle social communion, of day's end contemplation. As midnight approaches, Positano will grow even quieter. The restaurants will close, the last diners walking slowly home. The church bells will ring 12 times, their bronze voices carrying across the water. Then the village will truly sleep, held safely between mountain and sea, cradled in the ancient rhythms that have governed this coast since time began. And now, dear wanderer, our evening journey through Positano and its lemon-scented terraces begins to draw to its natural, peaceful close. Like the sun that has now fully set beyond the Tyrrhenian Sea, our exploration gently fades into the restful darkness that embraces this vertical paradise. The images and sensations of our walk settle into your consciousness like sediment in still water, creating layers of peaceful memory. You've wandered through terraces where lemons glow like golden lanterns, where ancient irrigation channels whisper liquid lullabies, where every stone has been placed with patience and purpose. You've breathed air perfumed with citrus and jasmine, salt and earth, the complex fragrance that exists nowhere else but here on the Amalfi Coast. These scents now live in your memory, available whenever you need to recall this perfect peace. The village of Positano continues its gentle existence below and around you. The last restaurants are closing, waiters clearing tables with quiet efficiency. The candles are being extinguished one by one, each flame saying a small goodbye to the night. Kitchen lights switch off, and chefs head home along familiar paths, their work complete for another day. The village is like a great house preparing for bed, each room darkening in sequence. The ceramic tiles that decorate the village have lost their daytime brilliance, but gained a different beauty. In the moonlight, they seem to glow faintly, as if holding some of the day's warmth and light within their glazed surfaces. The Majolica dome of Santa Maria Assunta has become a gentle presence in the darkness, a reminder that some things watch over us even while we sleep. The lemon groves rest in silver moonlight now. The fruit hangs heavy and still, no longer golden, but silver, transformed by the moon's alchemy. The leaves don't rustle. The evening wind has died to the faintest breath. Even the water in the irrigation channels flows more quietly, as if it too understands the need for nighttime peace. The terraces step up the mountainside like a giant staircase leading to the stars. Let your mind drift now through the images we've gathered. The soft pink and yellow houses cascading down the cliff sides. The narrow streets that wind and climb and descend like frozen melodies. The hidden gardens where roses and jasmine tangle in fragrant embrace. Each image is yours now, stored safely in the palace of memory, available whenever you need beauty and peace. The history of this place wraps around you, like a soft blanket woven from centuries. Greeks and Romans, Saracens and merchants, fishermen and farmers, artists and dreamers, all have contributed threads to this tapestry. You're part of this continuum now, another peaceful soul who has found rest in Positano's eternal embrace. Your presence here, even in imagination, adds to the village's story. The sounds of Positano at night are subtle but present. The eternal whisper of waves on the pebbled beach far below, a shutter closing somewhere in the darkness, a cat padding along an ancient wall, the creak of a boat at anchor. These sounds create a lullaby that has been playing for millennia, changing in details, but constant in its peaceful rhythm. Think of the people sleeping in this vertical village. In their beds behind those shuttered windows, they rest without worry, held safe between mountain and sea. Generations have slept here, dreaming dreams flavored by lemon and salt. Their peace is contagious, spreading to all who visit, even those who visit only in imagination as you do tonight. The Mediterranean Sea continues its ancient breathing, waves advancing and retreating with hypnotic regularity. The sea that has carried traders and travelers, that has provided fish and highways, that has been the constant companion to this coast since the land first rose from the waters. Its presence is reassuring, eternal, a reminder that some things endure beyond human time. The stars above Positano shine with exceptional clarity, unmarred by the harsh lights of larger cities. The constellations that guided ancient sailors still wheel overhead. Perseus and Andromeda, the Great Bear, Orion the Hunter. They look down on this coast as they have since humans first raised their eyes to the sky. You're under the same stars, part of the same great story. Your breathing has naturally slowed to match the rhythm of this place. Your heartbeat has found the tempo of the waves. Your thoughts have become as gentle as the evening breeze that barely disturbs the lemon leaves. This is the gift of Positano. It teaches us how to slow down, how to be present, how to find peace in simple beauty. The journey you've taken tonight requires no passport, no luggage, no planning. You can return whenever you wish, walking again through these lemon-scented terraces, descending these ancient steps, discovering new hidden corners. Positano exists now in your inner landscape, as real as any place you physically visited, perhaps more real, because it's been built from dreams and wishes. Let the last images blur now like watercolors in gentle rain, the golden sunset becoming memory, the lemon groves fading into comfortable darkness, the village lights twinkling like fallen stars, everything softening, becoming less distinct, more feeling than sight. This is how Positano wants to be remembered, not in sharp detail, but in gentle impression. Sleep is approaching you now as night approached the village, gradually, peacefully, inevitably. There's no need to resist. Positano has given you its gifts: beauty, peace, the scent of lemons, the sound of the sea. Now it releases you to your own peaceful slumber. The village will continue its quiet existence, ready whenever you wish to return. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let Positano exist behind your eyelids, painted in the soft colors of dreams. You're safe, you're peaceful, you're part of something beautiful and eternal. The lemon terraces rise into darkness. The sea whispers its ancient secrets. The village sleeps and invites you to join its rest. Thank you for joining me on this gentle journey through Positano's lemon terraces. May your dreams be filled with golden fruit and azure seas, with jasmine perfume and evening light. May you wake refreshed, carrying a piece of the Amalfi Coast's eternal summer in your heart. Rest now. Rest deeply. Rest peacefully. Positano is sleeping. The lemon groves are sleeping. The Mediterranean is singing its quiet night song. And you, dear wanderer, are invited to drift into the sweetest of dreams. Buonanotte, sweet dreams, and peaceful rest.